This is Tim Bilecki from Honolulu, Hawaii, bringing you a special edition of the Military Law News Network. In this special edition, we're going to talk about a few topics that are coming up very recently. And the real question is, are you guilty until proven innocent? And we're here today with Michael Waddington of Gonzalez and Waddington. Good morning, Michael.
Hey, good morning, Tim. Glad to be here.
All right.
The big thing we've been seeing right now, Tim, is it's like a national rally to really taint the court-martial process. It started out at low levels, at bases and posts and installations with SARCs and other people trying to get out there and reach out and touch juries and panels in these sex assault cases. It then went up to higher levels, you know, some senior officers in really all branches of the military. It's gone as high this week as up to the President and the Secretary of Defense, where they're now publicly talking about how they're going to stop and crush sexual assault and sex assault cases. And Tim, you're familiar with the current investigation going on right now with a Marine judge that was trying to increase the conviction rate. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I am, Mike, and I've always been of the opinion that for the most part, with rare exception, military judges have been isolated in terms of trying to make the right rulings based on the law. There's a lot of rulings that I get that I don't like, but they're the right rulings. Some I don't like. But what I'm seeing now is some activist judges on the military bench. And I was really shocked when I saw this, although nothing in this war on sexual assault shocks me anymore. But there's a military Marine Corps judge who is under investigation. Before the trial even started, our understanding from going through the investigation is that he went up to the prosecutor in front of the defense attorneys and essentially said, if this scumbag, the scumbag being the Marine who's innocent until proven guilty, walks on this or gets acquitted, you're going to hell. That's what the judge said. If your incompetence gets him acquitted, you're going to hell. This is from a senior judge to a junior prosecutor. It's straight intimidation. You know he's not getting a fair trial. How is this Marine getting a fair trial? And more to the point even, if you're a defense attorney and you're a young captain trying to make rank, what do, Mike? You know, it is a huge problem. This Marine judge is under investigation. How are you getting a fair shot in the military if the judges are calling you a scumbag and a dirtbag and saying, if you walk, you're going to hell to the prosecutor before the trial even starts? It's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like this.
And Tim, I agree with you that in my experience, once we get to trial, military judges are fair, they're neutral, they go to great lengths to not pass judgment. In my experience, that's why we take most of our cases to trial. And then beyond that, in my experience, in my opinion, military juries are as fair as you're going to get. And they're the great equalizer in this system.
Absolutely.
But when I hear of these cases, and this is not just a random allegation, and this is a case that's now being investigated by one of the military appellate courts, because apparently this was a ongoing problem with this particular judge. Now, I didn't hear any of that, but there are affidavits and testimony and statements put forward by lawyers that are involved in these cases that corroborate these allegations. And I believe there's going to be a hearing underway very shortly here. And what that type of those types of comments where you're prejudging someone that is presumed to be innocent, there's no way that could not affect the outcome of a court-martial. And there's no reason for a judge getting involved. He's a judge. He's supposed to be fair. And he's supposed to be...
As we said, in this war on sexual assault, the great equalizer. When you take the commanders, the JAGs, the SARCs, the lying witnesses, the great equalizer is the justice system where attorneys like us can go into a courtroom, get a fair and impartial jury, and as much as they try to stack the deck, I, like you, Mike, have found that juries do the right thing. You get judges who make the right ruling on the tough calls, and for the vast majority, the judges make the right calls. Even the ones I don't like are usually the right calls. But now, if we get to a point where military judges are tainting the system and I get this is isolated, but it begs the question: how many other times has this gone on? It has a chilling effect on the entire system. You have to ask the question: am I going to get a fair trial? And even when guys like you and I and other military attorneys who like to fight, if they're not involved, is the JAG or the military attorney going to be second-guessing his decision to take a case to trial because he has a field-grade officer saying, hey, if you win this, you're a scumbag too. Do you think you're going to get promoted? And that's a real issue for me. What chilling effect does it have when you don't have independent folks like us who will go in and try the case? I mean, it's a real problem, and I'm glad the appellate courts are looking at it. I'm glad it's brought out to public attention, because this has got to be stopped. I mean, the Congress can do what they want, but when it is time to go into a courtroom, we can't have that come inside the four walls of a courtroom, Mike. It has to be stopped.
No, Tim, it has to be stopped. I don't think that this is a widespread problem.
I agree, Mike. I don't think it is either. But,
in my cases, the judge generally tries to avoid even speaking with either side in any manner before the case and after the case. But the thing is, I think it's good that if there is even one person out there that's doing this, that someone had the courage to bring it to the appellate court's attention, and the appellate court stepped in to do the right thing.
So this got me thinking, though, Mike.
Yeah.
And we know this to be true. We're both former JAGs. So if it's not the judges doing this, because I do believe this is isolated, how about the staff judge advocates out there in their group meetings and at their officer calls and so on? Because you know as well as I do that this goes on in meetings, officer calls, at the yacht club, at the golf course, where majors, whether it's the Chief of Justice, deputies, SJs, they talk to TDS or the DCOs or the military attorneys, and they'll talk about a specific case and say, hey, you're a scumbag. If your guy walks, he beats the rap, there may be repercussions. Because I've always talked about how small the JAG Corps is, and if there is even one isolated incident from the bench, we know this goes on within the JAG Corps in the Staff Judge Advocate's office all the time. We know that, Mike.
Tim, that's a different story. Now, the Staff Judge Advocate is, again, just like the judges, they're supposed to be fair. They're supposed to be fair, neutral, and detached, advising the convening authority. Okay, they're not supposed to play a part in the case. But I'll tell you, it's in my experience that the SJ office, first of all, the SJ is the supervisor, maybe not the direct, but is the rater of the prosecution team.
Sure.
Okay, they advise the prosecutor. They're the ones who go to the convening authority and tell them what to charge, how to charge it, and it's a joke to think that a staff judge advocate is fair, neutral, and detached. I mean, the staff judge advocate wants your client in jail. He or she are the ones pushing the prosecution, and a lot of times they come into court or before court, they make the prosecutor rehearse with them to increase their chances of a conviction. And I personally, in my experience, have heard SJAs when I was a prosecutor, and this is years ago in the Army, and as a Army trial defense attorney, we would be chastised for fighting cases. And if we won the case, when we had to go to one of these mandatory functions, to a JAG function, you have to go to the Christmas ball, or you're an outsider. You show up there, and you have a colonel making comments about you, calling you the bad guys, not necessarily dirtbag, but making other rude and derogatory comments about you taking cases and fighting cases and sticking up for your clients. So there is a real chilling effect. That's always gone on, but I think it's gotten worse now.
I agree, and we're seeing it even creep into the judicial system. And again, I've said this 3 or 4 times, and it bears repeating. I don't think this is widespread. At least I certainly have not seen it, but it's a huge problem, and it really has the opportunity to undermine the integrity of the system. We all know that if you are charged with a sexual assault, you are guilty until proven innocent in the military. I mean, that's the reality of it. A commander is going to put you on restriction, treat you like a dirtbag. You're going to be flagged or on legal hold. You get no favorable actions, aren't allowed to take leave for the most part, isolated from your family. And these cases go on for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. I just finished up a case out in Korea where this soldier was my client for 2.5 years it took to finally get to an adjudication of the matter. And he was treated like a dirtbag the entire time. And then we show that he was not guilty. He did not do what he's charged with. And now he's the soldier who, quote, beat the rap. He walked because he got a high-dollar civilian defense attorney. And the reality is he didn't beat the rap. He didn't walk. He was not guilty. We showed that. It cost him a ton of dough, which it shouldn't have, but it did. And now there's no ramifications back to the soldier. It's, oh, you're the soldier who beat the rap. His career's over. And that's the real problem. His career will never recover, even though he was found not guilty or adjudicated to have no misconduct.
Tim, that brings up another point, and it's something that we discussed. Your client was found not guilty, and you're now forced in cases, rather than sit back and let the government do their job, in many cases, you have to prove your innocence.
That's right.
However, as the chilling effect happens at all levels, from the chain of command to the SJ office, what ends up happening is a lot of military lawyers are afraid to take cases to court and fight the cases. So I've personally seen recently, and I know you have, a lot of military lawyers taking their Article 120 sex assault cases to judge alone, to the judge alone, when they know the judge is maybe not the most fair person, or they know the judge doesn't give the client the best opportunity for a fair trial, but they do it anyway. And in many cases, when I speak to these lawyers, I'm like, why would you take this case that is your client's possibly innocent, take that case in front of a military judge instead of a panel or a jury of their peers that are going to really give them a fair trial, rather than having one person sit there? And I get all sorts of excuses about this is a question of this is a legal matter, judges know the law better. We take every Article 120 sex assault case to a military panel. That's the client's the best chance of getting a fair verdict. You have up to 12 independent people on there. It's a secret written ballot. Nobody knows who voted for guilty or not guilty. They're not allowed to discuss it. That's the client's best chance for a fair trial. But if your lawyer is trying to push you into a quick, unless the client really wants it and there's a good reason for it, into a judge alone case, you need to think long and hard about whether or not that's in your best interest. I know this is going to offend a lot of people. It's going to offend a lot of judges. It shouldn't. I just think that you have a military panel. Those people, let the military panel make their decision. If they find your client guilty, so be it. If they find your client innocent, so be it. But you're better off in the hands of a panel of enlisted and officers, or an officer panel.
Mike, I agree. That's the only way you're going to get a fair shake. Today is the 25th of March, and out here in Hawaii, every sex assault case in the Army this year we've taken to a jury, and as of the 25th of March, hope the win streak continues next week, we've won every case this year. Not guilty of all charges and specifications on every case. Now, every time I heard, the military lawyers were saying, you can't take it to a jury. It's a 25th Infantry Division panel. It's a ATSC panel. Whatever it is, there are hammers and so on. But every time we went to a jury, we do voir dire, we pick our jury, we educate the jury, and not just show that they didn't prove their case, we show that our clients aren't guilty. And every time they try to stack a jury, every case this year so far, as of 25 May, we've won. Now, contrast that to the military attorneys out here I see taking cases to a judge alone. They're scared to go to juries for whatever reason. And every case to a judge.
Well, Tim, let me just stop you there. Let me catch up there. If someone is afraid to go to a jury, then they should not be a trial lawyer. No. But it takes a big set of balls to take a case where your client's facing life in prison or 80 years in front of a jury of people that are combat veterans staring at you that think your client's guilty when you walk into court. So back to what you're saying, but there's a reason why people don't want to, why they don't want to take a case in front of a jury if they're scared, and you shouldn't be scared. You shouldn't be a lawyer if you're scared of going in front of a jury, but it takes some cojones.
You shouldn't be in this business if you're scared to go to a jury. You shouldn't be in this business. And it goes back to this guilty until proven innocent. When I go before a jury, I've got a shot. I've worked the case. Our investigators have worked the case. I can show that not only will the government not prove it, but our client was wrongfully accused or overcharged or whatever the facts are. I think once we show that, juries get it, but before that, I hear it over and over, and I know you hear this too, Mike. The client will come up to you after they've gotten acquitted, and they'll either break down or they'll thank you, and they'll say, for a year, 6 months, no one has listened to me except for you. I have been chastised, I've been branded as a rapist, and finally I've had my day in court and you've showed that I'm not guilty. But up until then, this innocent until proven guilty is nonsense, because that is a fantasy and not a reality, because every level from the command up has treated these soldiers or these Marines as if they were rapists, even though we take it to trial and the jury finds them not guilty. And I said the frustrating part is that they can't go back and sue the victims for lying. They can't go back and sue the JAG Corps or the Army for malicious prosecution or prosecution that never should have went to trial. And the commands, they're always branded as the guy who beat the rap, the guy who went and hired the big attorney to go beat the rap. And that's not really the case. All we've done is we've done our job and shown that they are not guilty. But they're guilty until proven innocent, and even after we prove them innocent, they're still chastised. That, Mike, is a broken system.
Oh, Tim, there's no doubt the system's broken. I mean, in an Article 120 case, I tell every one of my clients when we walk into that courtroom, every panel member, as they read the charges, which are usually stacked, are going to be thinking, after they finish reading, this guy's a rapist. So you start out with them believing that your client is a rapist based on all the brainwashing and all the stacked charge sheet. So you really have you have to really overcome a mountain or climb over or jump over a huge hurdle to even get a not guilty verdict. And it's a lot of work, and it's requiring more and more skill. As they throw more and more prosecutors and more games are being played with evidence disappearing, people getting amnesia that might help the defense, people being intimidated. It's getting more and more challenging to win a case where, you could say, I put my faith in the system, and I'm going to get the best result. You need someone who knows what they're doing, that has done hundreds of cases like these, not 3 or 4, but has fought hundreds of cases, that knows how to cross-examine expert witnesses and tear up their bogus witnesses that they put on the stand, and if they're a liar, expose them as a liar. Otherwise, you're in a world of hurt.
You're a convicted sex offender. And the reality is, these days, the government goes to extraordinary lengths to win at all costs. This guilty till proven innocent, it really is true. And I'm sure we're seeing this in the Pacific right and left, in particular in Hawaii. Blanket denials of every witness that we request, relevant witnesses. We have sex assault cases where the big issue is DNA. The government will fly in 1 or even 2 experts from the USACIL to testify about DNA, but they refuse to give the defense a DNA consultant. Now, why would they do that? Why? Because they want to win at all costs. So I hear that you just paid a civilian attorney to beat the rap and all this. It drives me mad. But those who say money can't buy justice, well, that may be true, but it buys you a fair shot, because what we're seeing now, Mike, is they're for example, they'll deny me an expert witness. And you know what we'll do? We'll level the playing field. We'll go hire them ourselves. They deny me experts, we bring them on ourselves. And so I don't care what it takes. If you're going to hire my law firm or you're going to hire yours, we're going to give you a fair shot. And then we win right, time after time after time again. They wonder how we do it. That's how we level the playing field. And it's not just a tagline, because in the military, more than anywhere else, you truly are guilty until proven innocent. And this notion of denying experts, denying every witness. So, like I said, what we've done to counter that, we'll fly them in ourselves. We'll fund it. If you're charged with I always say, not to talk money, but I always tell clients, I hope you've saved for a raining day, because if you look outside, it's pouring outside. You have to find a way to level the playing field, Mike. And
it's as simple as this. If you don't level the playing field, and you don't level or dominate the playing field, whether you're innocent or not, you better get used to sharing a bunk with some dangerous person in the prison cell, not seeing your kids ever again, and losing everything you have, your family, your career, and you better just snuggle up to your bunkmate.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that we have to say that, but Mike, it's just reality now. What amazes me, and sometimes I tell potential clients this, every once in a while I will get a call from someone who's charged with drug trafficking, and I get excited because it's not a sexual assault case. Right now, every client of mine is sexual assault. And that wasn't the case 2 years ago, Mike. It's unbelievable how many cases are sexual assault. And all you have to do in the military, if you're a female, is make an allegation. And this is not to say that there aren't actual sexual assaults, because there are real sexual assaults. None of them are my clients. But there are real sexual assaults that are out there. You make an allegation, you get a paparazzi, you get handlers, you get your victim advocates. We've talked about they're making their money. And then you get coddled. You don't have to work. Then when it's too much for you, you say, I can't handle the Marine Corps, I can't handle the Army, and here's your honorable discharge, thank you very much. And what does the accused soldier get? Welcome to prison. It's absurd, Mike. Like I said,
on top of that, even if someone is proven to be a liar, even if someone has made up 4 past sexual assault allegations, and they're proven again to be a liar, your client walks free, that person, that female, is still going to probably be diagnosed with some new concoction that they came up called military sexual trauma, MST. Not that sexual trauma is enough. Now it's military sexual trauma, and you're going to probably get full service-connected disability for the rest of your life. So not only do you get an honorable discharge, you're branded for life as this victim of sexual trauma, and the military is going to be paying your full service-connected disability. And that pisses me off, because half these people that get that are full of it, and they're liars. And there are some that are legit, but a lot of the ones I see are liars. We prove that they're lying. But you have guys and ladies and service members coming from Iraq, Afghanistan. They're losing their legs, getting blown up, having severe brain damage, and they're getting 10, 15% service-connected disability. And someone who went out and got drunk, cheated on their husband, slept with some guy that they've been flirting with at the office, all of a sudden gets full service-connected disability. That's the system that we're working with right now. That's what we're talking about in terms of the system is corrupt at this point in time. And unless you go out there and fight for your rights, you're going down. I have no other. People don't like when I say that. They're like, no, not in every case. If you don't fight for your rights and you have faith in the system and faith in everyone, you just kind of go along with the flow, you're going to be getting handcuffed for sure, whether you did it or not, and you're going to be going to a military prison. And when you get out, you're going to be a registered sex offender, and you're screwed forever. Your family's going to probably leave you. You're going to lose your kids. You can't even have kids. A lot of times, you can't even go to your kid's school or go to a sports event or live near a pool, park, you name it. You're going to be living in a trailer in the middle of Nevada is the bottom line.
And the reality is, well, some people say that's harsh. That's reality. Ask anyone convicted. Do an exit. No one does exit surveys of folks who get out of the brig who've been branded as registered sex offenders, but that's the reality. And the problem with this broken system is what motivates people, Mike. People are motivated by money. Money motivates people, all right? And so when these alleged victims know that they're going to get military rape trauma syndrome, get a paycheck to get out, because as you put it, we see time and time again, they go out, have a couple drinks, go hook up with a sergeant who's married or she's married. There's a case of buyer's remorse. Now it's rape. Now you get mailbox money for the rest of your life. What motivation? It's incredible motivation. And now the poor soldier who hooked up with someone at a bar, okay, now is forced to fight and take everything he has to fight for his life, because you will only get one chance at a trial. Make no mistake about it. In the military, I say this over and over and again, you have the perception of you are guilty until you go out and prove yourself innocent. No doubt about it. That's how you win trials. And the other way leads to a conviction. And as much as I don't like to say that, that's reality.
It's sad but true, Tim. So bottom line is, if you're accused of a sexual crime and you're in the military, You don't wait until the last minute. You don't have faith in the same system who's trying to prosecute you. You need to take the initiative. You need to do your homework, do your research, and put together the best team of expert defense lawyers that you can afford. And if you can't afford it, you know what? You might need to sell your pickup truck, because if your pickup truck's going to be of no use to you when you get 15 years at Leavenworth, okay? It's going to be repoed, or your spouse is going to take it, and your spouse's new husband's going to be driving around in that car. So you need to be serious about this. We're not trying to bully anyone into hiring civilian attorneys, but I'm telling you what I see every day, and people that are delusional about everything's going to work out, it's all going to be just fine, and take no initiative to defend themselves and their freedom, those are the ones who go to jail. That doesn't mean that innocent people don't go to jail. I've had clients that we fought it out for. There might be some underhanded tactics used by the prosecution. Evidence is hidden. And sometimes, it's rare, but sometimes when you put together the best defense, and if you have all these forces coming against you, you don't get a full acquittal in every case. Okay? Nobody can promise you that. But you do have the best shot possible if you take the initiative, get the best team you can on your side, and fight for your rights. Don't be pushed around by the system, or you're going to lose.
And Mike, I'll tack on one point on that. You made an interesting point about selling your pickup that kind of made me smile a little bit. But because I hear it all the time, I can't guarantee an acquittal. You can't. No lawyer can. But you want the best shot possible to try to take down this system. So I get it all the time. People call, I'll quote a fee, and I'll think it's ridiculous. They'll say, oh my gosh, Mr. Bilecki, your fees are absurd. You're just trying to get someone to pay for your BMW. Well, that's not the reality of it. The reality is it takes a lot of time and money to assemble experts, to assemble investigators, to put a team together to fight. And to look at it another way, if you're an E5 making $5,000 a month for sake of discussion, that's $60,000 a year. If you get a 10-year sentence, you've lost $600,000 at a baseline in lost salary, not to mention the prison, losing your family, sex offender registration. So when an attorney quotes you a $60,000 fee, when you're looking at a realistic 10 years, you got to put it into perspective as to what you're getting. Again, no lawyer can win at every case. That's just not the reality. As Mike said, sometimes we're beaten by the facts quite a bit. That happens. But if you save for a rainy day and you're in the military and just got charged with sexual assault, the reality is probably pouring outside right now. That's just the reality, Mike.
Well, Tim, let's wrap this episode up, this special report on guilty until proven innocent. I think we had a great discussion. If anyone has any questions, feel free to chime in on the YouTube channel, ask any questions, or contact us, either one of us, for a free consultation if you're being accused of sexual assault in the military.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye-bye.